Hello and welcome back to Fandom Fridays, where we check out every single fanfic that is not pony related. Why? Because sometimes we do need to see other people to make our relationship better. And it's not you girls, it's me. Oh, what can I say? I can't leave you girls for nothing! So, another week, and no pony came out. I feel kind of bad about that. But on the bright side, new pony this week, and the last season finales next week. Curses! But on the bright side, since this show has been going on weekly so far for the past almost 52 weeks, with the exception of one break, you don't have to worry about me taking a season off. Of course, a few days off, but not a full season. But I suppose since we've all heard the news about Dragon Ball Z getting a new series, it's time to look back and think about the other great anime that got a new series recently. No, not that one. No, not that one. Yes, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. And so, I figured that today might be a good time to take a good look at a fanfic that could spawn from the ending. So thus, we here at the Treeberry Memorial Library am proud to present. Speaking of which, no, my Treeberry Memorial Library is not located near the place where the main six pulled out the previous Treeberry. I wouldn't want to use that. There was a lab under there, and they kind of took that, and all Twilight's experiments on that lab kind of made the soil not usable for tree berries anymore. So I had to use the one next to it. Luckily, Charlie doesn't mind coming to the schoolhouse, but I digress. We here at the Treeberry Memorial Library are proud to present The Flowers of Antimony by Lady Norbert. That's an interesting name, Norbert. Flowers of Antimony by Lady Norbert. Chapter 1, Torrefaction. 2 years have passed since the promised day. 2. For the Elric brothers, they have slid past in almost a completely happy blur of apple pies and mountain mornings, courtesy trains and calls whistles, hellos and goodbyes and hellos again. Al has gone east to Zing. Ed has gone west. They are apart for the first time in their lives. But the promise of that future hello again can sustain them both. Al chose to go east, the farther path, because his ties to home, and though strong and permanent, are more malleable than Ed's endless bond to Winry. The connection between Al and Risible bends, but does not break, and he has less tie to him there than Ed does. Not much less, but just enough to make his leaving a bit more allowable. He travels to Zing, accompanied by the Chimera Jerso and Zampano. He expects that, once he arrives, he will devote a period of time of some weeks to studying and training with Mei Chang, learning secrets of alchemy, and that he will then move on to the exploration of other countries. He forgets, until he gets there, how much 2 years may do to a person, and the young princess who welcomes him into her half-brother's royal court as an honored guest is rather altered from the little girl he once concealed inside his armor. His stay in Zing goes on much longer than he planned, to the amusement of his traveling companions. Terzo and Zampano do not mind. Zing is full of pretty women and exotic scenery. There is plenty to do in Z, and even while they quest to regain their natural form, and Al's tendency to in the palace, therefore their own, is really rather convenient for these purposes. There are foods to sample, sights to see, and a young friend to tease about his growing attachment to the country. Ling, of course, is now emperor, and, in his letter, can hardly resist the chance to mark him, and Al has the phrase, Ling, the king of Zing, stuck in his mind for days. Ling welcomes Al like a brother, however, and seems perfectly willing to house him indefinitely. Lanfan also greets Al with an old sort of cordiality. Conspiratorially, May tells Al that the Lady Warrior has thus far turned down Ling's offer of marriage no less than 3 times. It is her duty to guard the Eververse, he says, and that is something she cannot do as Empress. Duty before love. And if you ask this shipper, she'll probably agree after the 10th time. Al is strongly reminded of Roy Mustang and Riza Hawkeye. Lanfan has, however, consented to a different sort of proposal, and allowed Ling to use his Philosopher's Stone to restore her flesh arm. Instead of automail, she has learned a few tricks from Ling's time with Greed. Beneath her robes, she is clad in a lightweight suit of carbon armor. She spends some time without discussing this, allowing him to examine the mail, and suggests modifications that he is, of course, well equipped to make. Recognizes the trust he is placing in with this, and he is appreciative. Al, as May can hardly help noticing, though he himself is cheerfully oblivious, has matured most attractively. He hasn't quite the same sort of arresting beauty that Ed possesses. Ed is Hohenheim to the core, while Al has something more Trisha to him. He is gentler by far than his brash older brother, a fact which displays itself in sort of earnest puppiness in his features. His smile is sweeter than Ed's, less confident, more eager to please. He is a good-looking young man, tall and handsome, and good at dancing. That is until another outlaw shot him dead. Gather up your load. Oh, sorry. And Cersei and coloring earns him more than his fair share of his curiosity. So he studies with May, dines with Ling, and ventures out into the strange, exciting new country that beckons him. He reads the singing legend of the Western Says with a secret kind of smile. He makes his own alchemic code, while Ed documents his findings as a travelogue, and it takes Al 3 days to decipher even a paragraph of his encrypted letters. Alice returns the favor by sending messages disguised as children's nursery rhymes. Ed, of course, being awesome, deciphers this in less than 3 seconds. There are other letters too, of course. Al is far more diligent with corresponding than Ed ever was, now that he's restored to a body that's capable of holding a pencil, and writes enthusiastic letters to Winry and Granny Pinocchio. He buys a supply of Cindy's postcards, bits of artistry rendering into shimmering sheets of metallic paper, and specially prepared to be mailed. With these he doles out to his distant friends. There is one from Major Armstrong, and one from Pan Denny Bross, and Maria Ross, and Seska, and Gracia Hughes, and another one for Elisa. And of course, Azumi and Sid can't be forgotten. And what about Russell and Tringham? Trixie, those were filler characters from the first anime. They do not exist. They exist in Trixie's heart! Ugh. Trixie. Are you really telling me that you're putting so much effort and love into a background character? That you're paying so much attention and care to a couple of guys who popped up for an equivalent of only 5 episodes, and now you're planning on giving them, what, a backstory or a history, expand more on their characters and tell more about them, and maybe even create more stories for them on your fanfiction.net account? Yes. Because, heaven forbid, we take a character that's only popped up once in a while and give them their own universe. I know, Trixie. That's just weird, isn't it? Anyway, the months melt away. Then comes the letter he's expected for a long time. No codes, no clues, no puzzles. He reads it and reads it again. And there's a burst of joy in his heart that he isn't sure if he should laugh or cry, or to best express it. So, he does. He clutching the paper to his chest, tipping his head back and laughing until the tears roll down his cheek. He dries them quickly and reads the letter one more time just for the sheer delight of doing so. He has wanted this, waited for this, known it was coming, and yet now it finally has. Now that the event he has anticipated for at least 8 years is coming to pass. There is something strange and wonderful about it. He is surprised, and the fact that he is surprised is a surprise in itself, because he knows he should not be. Al runs into the throne room, and by now the guards are so accustomed to the golden-haired foreigner that his boisterous arrival hardly makes them blink. He bows to Ling breathlessly, even though Ling has told him a dozen times that isn't necessary. When he straightens, his eyes are dancing. "I have to go home soon," he declares. "Why so suddenly? Out with it, Al. You look like the cat that ate the canary." Ling's expression is a tiny bit reminiscent of Green, but not in a bad way. "What so is it?" Al's face splits into the widest grin Ling's ever seen. "Brother and Winry are getting married!" "Wait, somebody's getting married?" "Somebody's getting married!" Oh, I'm sorry, people, but I'm legally required to play that song every time those words are mentioned. Chapter 2. Sublimation. Sublimation. A property possessed by some substances which enables them to go directly from the solid to gaseous state without pausing through the liquid phase. Ed is decidedly less than pleased by the summons. He is still technically regarded as a state alchemist, despite the inability to actually perform alchemy, so refusal really isn't an option. He doesn't like General Hothead as much as he once did, nor anywhere near as much as he likes to pretend he does. Still, it's not exactly a convenient time to be invited, he uses the word loosely, to Isfal, and Winry makes a point of letting him know it. So he's half toying with plans for an Amaya wedding dress, a concept that amuses and exasperates him on levels that even he can't describe. And with a shake of his head, he kisses her goodbye, and dutifully boards an express bound for Isfal. Wait, I can't wrap my mind around this. Are we actually having Winry in a full Malefic without bassing her? Christmas came early! 16 hours of solitude on a train car, and his Amel leg is not thanking him for the experience. He forgets the pain, however, as he drinks in the sight of all the reconstruction. Under General Jerkwad's leadership, Amistris and Isfalans are laboring jointly to rebuild the devastated land. You wouldn't really say there's an atmosphere of peace in the air, but there isn't less tension than when once been, Elric! Uh-oh. There's no hiding from that voice. Even before Ed can offer a weak greeting, he's crushed in the embrace of a familiar mustachioed strongman, his shirt being saturated by the outpouring of happy tears. Hello, Major Armstrong! He grunts brokenly to get a truth.
Oh, my dear boy! How magnificent it is to see you again! And just look at how much you've grown!
Armstrong wails, and once Ed decides to forgive him for the cracked ribs. It's good to see you too, he says once the giant releases him. But what are you doing here? I thought you were in breaks or something.
It has been both since the last we have met, but I have come to see General Mustang. My sister has had a message for him, and one for Miles as well. I have delivered for her. She has never been to the trusty post if she can help it, since I was in the vicinity already. This general has asked if I would escort you to the station to his headquarters.
Oh. I suppose this makes sense. So he picks up his suitcase and falls a step beside the Major. Looks like he's been keeping busy anyway.
Indeed, young Edward!
Armstrong begins to describe all the changes that are underway in Ishbal, starting with the wary return of citizens, still shell-shocked after almost a full generation in exile, to their returned homes. 10 cities have been erected to house the workforce, and there is a matter of constructing schools and hospitals, of restating old trade routes and relationships. Führer Grumman has been liberal with the distribution of labor and aid, and public proclamation has been made of the military's wrongdoing in the Isbalan matter. Mysteries from all quarters are urged to remember that Isbalans are their brethren, and the response to the call for able-bodied assistance has been slowly growing more enthusiastic. Bradley's guilt in the recent conflict has been minimized, a whitewashing of history that those who knew what he really was both universally despised and universally recognized as necessary. Ed listens only half-heartedly, his mind wandering over the details even as his gaze wanders over his surroundings. Something asserts itself in his consciousness, however, and he realizes he needs a question answered. Major? Has the Führer made any sort of decision about the people who served in the Isbalan War?
You refer to the official reprisals against the state alchemists and other personnel, I presume.
Yeah. Specifically, he thinks of a conversation he once had with Riza Hawkeye, sitting at her kitchen table, drinking tea, and watching her king a bloody pistol. So he entrusted him with the explanation of General Skirthauser's ambitions, which to him sounded like a planned suicide.
An extensive military tribunal was conducted. It was determined that the bulk of the guilt lies with the high-ranking officers who gave the directives. Most of those have already been arrested for their collaboration with the homoculi, and their power has been lifted before the tribunal even began. Führer Karaman is very selective about the people he trusts. There were some dishonorable discharges for the unethically unreliable, and some president's sentences.
What about the rest?
General Mustang was cleared of charges, if that's what you're asking. He wasn't too pleased, to be perfectly honest, but he's accepted the pardon.
And General Hawkeye?
Also cleared. Between ourselves, I suspect that this is the only reason that the general acquiesced to his own pardon.
Armstrong looked faintly amused.
Conversely, I believe the fact that he was cleared was the only reason she accepted hers. A fine partnership.
What about you?
As you see, I remain at liberty.
Right. So what did I get called here for anyway? General Fancy Pants didn't give me any details.
That's because I have yet to meet you, young Edward. It's a pleasure to meet you. I am Fancy Pants, and this is my wife, Fleur de Lis.
That sounds like kind of a silly thought. Fancy Pants is Roy Mustang and Fleur is Risa Hawkeye. King! Why do I think of these stuff? Armstrong hesitates.
You are an object of concern at present, he says carefully. That's all I can really tell you.
How much concern can I be raising? Ed checks. I can't even do alchemy anymore. The older alchemist shrugs. They reach the headquarters building and make their way to Mustang's office. Ed can hear Hawkeye's voice just before the door opens, lecturing her superior about something or other, and he smiles involuntarily. It's good, he thinks, to know some things never change. He follows Armstrong across the threshold of the office. Mustang looks up and admits privately that he's glad this flame alchemist has got his sight back. A slightly comical expression crosses the general's face. He gives a snort of half hesitation and half welcome. Full Metal, you're the only guy I know who could turn getting married into an international incident. I'm sorry, excuse me, what? What? Chapter 3. Traitorium. Traitorium. A vessel used for separation of immiscible liquids. Risa Hawkeye, for all her natural stoicism, has difficulty suppressing a smile. As her expression, as he and the general eye one another across the desk, is one of pure bewilderment. He's even too startled to be very angry, which, considering the Full Metal's legendary temper, is a feat in itself. What the hell you're talking about, General? He sputters. International incident? He asks, his ponytail rustling. How did you even know about the wedding? We haven't even sent out invitations yet or anything. Not that I will send you one, he adds tauntingly. Of course. Mustang's eyes glitter. He is amused rather than annoyed, though not everyone would be able to detect a subtle difference. Risa, of course, can. Because she is his and he is hers. Forever and ever. Hey! No shipping! Sorry. General, I think you've overlooked something, she says mildly. There's something else to be said before you start calling out Edward onto the carpet. She moves away from the desk and toward the new arrival, one hand outstretched, and her smile is soft. Congratulations. It looks slightly surprised, but then realizes his feature into the boyish grin she remembers so well, taking her hand and pressing it warmly. Yeah, thanks, Lou, Colonel. I guess you were right, weren't you? Even if I didn't want to admit it. Right? She repeats, casting about in her mind for what he might have meant. Remember? It was just after Bradley transferred you to his direct command, and I brought back the gun you had loaned out to me. Ed's expression is a funny thing, bright and far away at once. You said point blank that, of course, I wanted to protect Winry because I loved her. Oh, yes. Risa's lips twitch at mirth at the memory. And you spat your tea all over Black Coyote. Yeah, I protested too much, I guess. Just a bit. I remember thinking you were remarkably vulnerable to a direct hit. The general and the major are silent, listening to them reminisce. Mustang seems in particular reluctant to interrupt. On the contrary, he's sort of hanging on every word, as though it's incredibly important. She doesn't see why. He knows they had the conversation. Much longer, after they had been reunited, he had mentioned Full Metal's knowledge of his ambitions, though he hadn't objected to her decision to bring the boy into the loop. For all their bluster and quarrel, the two men respected each other. Especially that direct hit, Ed agrees now, shaking his head. But hearing it from you wasn't so bad. Like I said, you were right. You and Al. He grins again. Risa swallows a fine chuckle. Because this is the closest he's ever seen him to see him looking love-struck. Well, the Colonel is right. I'm remiss in not congratulating you. The General interjects, bringing both Edward and Risa's attention back to the here and now.
As am I!
Armstrong declares. Risa utters a silent prayer of gratitude when he doesn't rip off his clothes in a display of brimming emotions.
Oh, young Edward! I didn't realize that was the reason for your summons! The General didn't tell me! This is the most wonderful thing I can think of! Miss Rockbell is such a charming woman! I wish you both very happy!
Yeah, thanks, Major. You too, Gerald. He adds in a more normal tone. But what do you mean, my wedding's an international incident? Yes, that in particular. You said you haven't sent out the invitations? No. Winry keeps thinking of people to add to the guest list. Old clients from Rust Valley, that sort of thing. Where's Alfonso present? He's been a Zing for the past year, studying Alka history with Princess Mei Chang. I'm assuming you told him, of course. Of course! He's my brother! He was the first person I told! That accounts for it. Mustang laces his gloved finger and rests his chin on his hand, looking contemplative. Reason knows where his thoughts are leading him, but says nothing. Accounts for what? The Emperor of Zing is planning to attend your wedding. Ling is doing what now? It blinks. Not that I don't want to see him, but I didn't think I should invite him. You know, he's got a country to run and everything. Hence my saying that this has turned into an international incident. You see, the general's smirking a bit, eyes narrow, and Riza can see just how much he's enjoying himself. The Emperor of Zing, friend to Amistris so he is, can't very well just purchase a train ticket and cross the border. He's got to come with an entourage. Bodyguards, servants, all sorts of things. And in order to do something that grandiose, he has to declare his intentions to the leader of Amistris, which he's done. Which has resulted in my receiving a message from Vera Groman, who wants to know why you've invited the leader of a foreign power to your wedding, but not the head of your own military, which yourself are a member. Edla is positively dumbstruck. Riza pities him. Vera Groman wants to come to my wedding? He has finally disbelief. I never even met the man! I'm as surprised as you are. Mustang smiles again. The Fuhrer has a quirky sense of humor, however. I doubt he's half so disgruntled about the situation as he's pretending to be. In all seriousness, though, Fomel, I don't think there's really a good way out of this. If you want Ling to attend your wedding, then you have to be prepared to invite the Fuhrer too. I guess that's all right. Ed begins warily, but the general cuts him off. Which means inviting a lot of other high-ranking military officers and state alchemists. It does? Well, if the Zingian Emperor is bringing an entourage, you can't expect the Fuhrer of Amistris to do any less, can you?
I will be happy! Armstrong irritates tearfully to volunteer my services for the purpose. I'm sure Maria Ross and Danny Bruss would be only too pleased to do likewise. After all, we were already on the guest list.
He pauses.
Weren't we?
Well, yeah, yeah, of course. As said hastily, in her mind's eye, Riza could see the young man more or less drowning in the situation. That'd be a big help. He clearly sees that he's defeated. And you know, General, you could come too, I guess. And you too, Colonel, of course. The invitation for her is a bit more genuine than the one for Mustang. There's a flash of something slightly evil in his eyes as he adds, I expect you two to show up together anyway. Fine. The General doesn't actually laugh, but it's clear from his tone that he's tempted. I'll get you a list of who else needs to be included. The ceremony is to be held in Risible, I'm assuming. Yeah. Don't get any ideas about making us move it to Central. Ed pauses and pales. And we are not a fighting Scar! I'm sorry. I know he's an ally now and everything, but it doesn't change the fact that he's killed Winry's parents. I won't do that to her. Of course it's not, Edward. It's Riza who speaks, before either of the men can. It's her wedding day. We want her to be happy. Besides, we'll need Scar to stay here in Isval and continue helping oversee the reconstruction. Especially if the General and I are going to be gone for several days. Right, yeah. Some color comes back to the young man's face. Then he grows and puts his prints on his nose. Man, Winry's going to kill me when I tell her all this! Riza exchanges an amused glance with the General. Colonel Hawkeye escorts Ed to the phones, where he gets an outside line and lets Winry know that he has arrived safely in Isval. He makes her smile. He has learned a few points of courtesy in the past few years. Once he finishes his call, she shows him to the residential section of the headquarters building. Risable's too far for you to rush right back right away, she tells him. Besides, it's been so long since we've seen you. Take some rest, and once you've had breakfast tomorrow, we'll give you a tour of what's being done. Thanks, Colonel. He sets the old suitcase on the bed beside it. It feels weird to call you that. No offense. None taken. It took me a while to get used to it in my mind. In my mind, Colonel still means General Mustang. Yeah, I bet. He tilts his head, studying it for a second. Oh, that's what's different! Different? Your hair. You didn't cut it. It's still long. Risa smiles, puzzled. You thought I cut my hair? Yeah, Mrs. Hughes sent us a picture of you and Gerald show-off at some parade in Central. The funeral's inauguration, I guess. The angle made it look like you cut your hair short. She takes for a memory. Oh, now I remember. I was waiting to braid it down my back for the occasion. Sort of the way you used to wear yours, actually. Ed nods. Your hair's sort of short like Winry's. You should keep it long. She knows a compliment when she hears one. Thanks, Edward. He grins and stretches out on the bed. Military cots. Didn't miss 'em. Well, not to be rude, Colonel, but after 16 hours on a train and another 2 being grilled by this walkie cigarette liar about my wedding plans, I'm about due for a nap. Of course. Call if you need anything. Sleep well, Full Metal. She returns to the general office. Armstrong has retired. Not like that! I'm sorry, folks, but this is the only jokes I can get with this. Mustang is alone. He faces away from her, his hands folded behind his back as he gazes out the window. The setting sun behind the flame alchemist is entirely an appropriate red glow. Full Metal, all settle in? Yes, sir. He chuckles and shakes his head. Hothead's getting married. I never thought I'd see today. I hope we all would, sir. He's been in love with that girl for a long time. Yes. About that, Colonel. Sir, for some reason, Riza's heart is settling in her throat. The conversation to which he was alluding, where you first pointed out his feelings to him, sounded very interesting. You know that Fear King Bradley was using Winry as an incentive to which to control the Elric brothers, Edward in particular. He would have done anything to protect her. The conclusion was, I felt, fairly obvious. I see. He doesn't say anything else for a moment, and Riza almost panics, because she suddenly realizes that she said far, far too much. In length, he half turns, not quite looking at her. You equate protection with love, Colonel? She doesn't know what the right answer is. Here it is, Riza. Say yes! Because the lie goes against everything she stood for, but to tell the truth is only too honest for them. She tries, therefore, for something in the middle. When protection extends as far as Edward is willing to protect Winry, sir, with all his building, to shield her from every conceivable harm to her person, her heart and soul, then yes, I would venture to say that they are the same. He nods, as though this is exactly what he expected her to say. And then they banged! Ahem! What did Turk seem to say about the freaking shipping on this? Not to do it. Yes. Ying! Does read the author's notes. Chapter 4. Deflagration. Deflagration. The cause of substance to burn rapidly with flame. That's right, sir. He hasn't actually sent out any formal invitations. It's a case of St. Ever something to gun, so to speak. The line crackles with Vera Grover's advancement, and Roy can't help smiling to himself. Admittedly, it's a pretty ludicrous situation, because this is a hot guy, sitting at her desk nearby, but her head is bent, and she's engrossed in her work as usual, so she can't share the moment with him.
Ugh! The boy probably thinks I'm an interfering old codger with a few screw loose stealthily. Between you and me, General, I'm looking forward to the trip to Reservoir.
Vera admits.
If it's going to feel like a vacation.
Yes, sir.
I'll have my secretary work on the accommodations. It's a remote area, and they probably don't have enough inns for everyone. We may have to establish a temporary encampment.
Grumman muses, and Roy tries not to facepalm. You can only imagine Full Metal's reaction to that bit of theory.
More work. I expect you'll be in attendance yourself, General. You included the boy. You've worked closely together.
Yes, sir. I believe I was on the guest list from the beginning. Despite what Full Metal had said, Roy had few doubts on that score.
Good. I think I'll order military personnel who are regular wedding guests to not wear their uniforms.
The Fuhrer is chuckling, for all of Cecil's sweetness. There's a faint malevolence behind it.
At least, that way I can pretend you're taking my granddaughter on a date.
Roy's elbow slips on the desk, causing him to look ridiculous and, unsurprisingly, cause Hawkeye to glance down with some alarm. Sir?
I'm not getting any younger, Mustang! Stop on it!
Sir?
I want you to know that she's settled before I go. She's all I have.
Yes, sir, but...
No buts! I'd get me that status report I asked you for.
Of course, sir.
Good. I'll see you soon, my boy.
Fear cackles again as the line disconnects. Roy stares at the receiver in his hand for a few seconds before putting it back to the cradle. Hawkeye looks down. Her... Mahogany! Eyes asking questions her lips do not form, and he offers a weak smile. Your grandfather sends his love. Vera Grumman has been campaigning for Roy to marry his granddaughter for almost as long as the two gentlemen have been acquainted. Roy can't even remember anymore how it first came up. The old man, who is far sharper than most people believe at first glance, didn't take long for defining Roy's long-term ambitions, nor has he ever discouraged them. He fully supports the Flame Alchemist's intent to become Fuhrer down the road. He just wants to see his granddaughter installed as First Lady when the time comes. The fact that his granddaughter in question also happens to be the only woman Roy has ever wanted to marry is strangely convenient. She has accepted the revelation of her mother's parentage as stoically as Hawkeye ever accepts anything, or at least anything that doesn't constitute a danger to Roy. It always felt strange to Roy that he knew who her grandfather was when she didn't, so to have them both finally aware of it is something of a relief. Grumman kept the secret until he became Fuhrer, so that when no one could accuse her of her using the family tie to accelerate her rise through the ranks. By the time she was made colonel, no pony was inclined to question her diligence. Did I just say no pony or nobody? She does not, however, know that her grandfather has spent the last several years quietly urging her superior officer to break protocol and marry her. So say we all in the audience. So say we all. He's fairly certain that if she did not know that, it would not end well either for himself or the Fuhrer. As it is, they spend more time together than most married couples do, a condition that has only worsened since the move to Isfal. They live in the same building where they work, meaning technically they live together, and so they are almost never apart. And ever since the promised day, when they literally held each other up, and she was his eyes, and he almost surrendered his soul for her, their particular intimacy has deepened. It started when they were teenagers. It grew stronger after their father's death, and the Hellas War, and the working relationship that followed. But now, it reached a point that where, if Roy was honest with himself, he might as well be married. They move with a rhythm as though they were purposely dancing, perfectly in step. Separately they exist, but it's because of each other they actually live. He can't stand the idea of sharing this sort of intimacy with anyone else, and he's fairly certain she can't either. She breathes out, he breathes in. She breathes in, he breathes out. So the thing that's drumming in his mind, several minutes after he's speaking with the interfering old codger, is the question of what exactly is preventing him from taking that final step. Anti-fraternization laws aside, most of the reasons have been stripped away. They've been pardoned, so he's not shackling her to the walking dead, and he's grown to be largely alright with the pardon because, as Armstrong correctly surmised, it means she is saved. They have tacit approval when it's their only living relative. Most of their closest friends not only approve of the idea, but they consider it almost an inevitability that doesn't even bear mentioning, because it's so obvious. He supposes it is at that. Certainly it was obvious enough that Bradley knew how to keep him in line. He still doesn't know how he remained so calm when he was told that his closest supporters were being stripped from his command, that his redoubled lieutenant was essentially a hostage, and what came later, his hands shake even now at the memory of how he almost lost her. The gold-toothed bastard had called her his precious woman, and laughed at Roy's evident terror. It's hard to disguise how much you love someone when they're dying in front of you, and all you could do is scream for them to answer you. General? His awareness surged back to the present. Hawkeye knows his shaking hands. General, what's wrong? It's nothing, Colonel. She knows he's lying, of course. She knows him better than he knows himself. Your hands are trembling. I got lost in memory. This makes sense to her. It's he doesn't press her father. They both have a host of memories that could induce trembling or worse. It's nearly lunchtime, sir. Armstrong should be bringing full mail back from his tour to the city soon. Sal, we joined him in the mess hall. All right. They walk through the corridors, and she keeps trying to drop back half a pace behind him, but she doesn't allow her to do that when it's just the two of them. He wants her where he can see her, even if it's only out the corner of his eye, because he remembers the days when he thought he'd never see her again. The Fuhrer is full of plans for this wedding. Roy comments idly, stealing glances. All military personnel who are on the regular guest list are going to wear civilian attire. Only those who are actively serving as protection will be in uniform. I suppose I better have your tuxedo cleaned for you then. This became one of her duties. Neither one of them really knows. He oversees many of his personal details that the only man think about much. And you'll need a dress. I have dresses. I think this warrants something new. His tone is light. His words are heavy. Shall I buy you a new gown for the wedding? Not really necessary. She begins, but he interrupts. Mr. Mustang still in toys, buying gifts for his special ladies, Miss Elizabeth, and he hasn't gone to do that in a long time. He speaks playfully, as though they are still on speaking on the telephone, as he watches over the housing building, involvement and buried the chopper. He misses that particular mission sometimes. For all their encoded dialogue, for all the substitutes and secrecy, it was the closest they ever came to saying what they really mean. She's rolling her eyes, and he can almost see it. Smile somewhere, too. Why do you think I'm not going to be able to talk you out of this, Roy? She asked, adopting the Elizabeth voice. He stops walking and turns to look at her properly, first glancing around to verify they are indeed alone. Because you're not, he said, in his own voice. I want you to do this all right. Pick it out and let me buy it for you. Why? Hawkeye's eyes are on his face. The only thing he's sure of is in questions or astonishment. They linger too long in this moment. Roy knows, and he's having a difficult time caring. Just say yes. He ponders making it in order, but she almost doesn't put him in that position. They both know the answer to that question anyway. It doesn't need to be said. Kiss already, you two! Gods! Oh my gosh! I haven't waited this long for my favorite couple to kiss since the last time I read Sweet Taste of Cake! Gods! I mean, you can cut the sexual tension with a freaking reverse blade sword! Yes, sir. Thank you. You're welcome. They start walking again. That's a breath he didn't know he had been holding. By some freaking break, making me wait like this! Chapter 5. Delinquents. Delinquents. The property of some crystalline substances have of dissolving spontaneously in a liquid from the air. Rockbell Automail. Winry speaking. Oh, hi, Ed. When are you coming home? Winry hops to sit on her workbench, crossing her legs at the knee and playing asset line with the telephone card. Then, when had been half dozing in the corner, lifts his head at the sound of Ed's name, but lowers it again when the blonde alchemist doesn't materialize. What do you mean, the Fuhrer is coming to our wedding? What? The Emperor Zing? Oh, wait, he's your friend, right? Al's been staying with him? She listens more, her blue eyes glowing wide so that Pinocchio, who's watching her granddaughter from the far end of the room, have his breasts don't fall on her head. I can't believe this, Winry groans, touching her forehead as if to stay off a tense headache. And there's no way out of it. None at all? Oh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Not your fault, huh? I don't know if I can believe that! She catches her grandmother's eye, and in spite of her mixed feelings, gives a little grin. All right, if you're sure. Get home. We still have a lot of preparations to make. The wedding is only 3 months away. Yeah? Okay. Uh-huh. All right. Tell them hello back. Yes. See you tomorrow, then. A faint tinge creases her cheeks. Yeah. Love you, too. Bye. Is coming home tomorrow, then? Pinocchio asks, as Winry hangs up the phone. Yeah, Grandma. What am I going to do? You said something about the Fuhrer. Why in the world is the Fuhrer coming to the wedding? No, sir, I got all this straight myself, so we might need him to explain when he gets in tomorrow. But here's what I understand. Winry launches into a not entirely coherent repetition of everything Ed just told her. As he speaks, she grows more and more bewildered by the words that are coming out of her own mouth. Is this really happening? Yes, he's the hero of Amistris, but... Pinocchio hears it all without so much as twisting an eyebrow. Then, she says in her practical way, we'll manage. We'll manage? Grandma, how can we possibly... Child, you're getting married in 3 months to a man who has walked through hell at least twice, lost and regained both his own body and that of his brother, and defeated the most powerful evil ever to roam the planet. Compared to all that, I really don't think a grand-scale wedding is going to be that much of a challenge to you. Well, when you put it that way, I suppose not. I think the biggest concerns are going to be the matters of logistics. What are we going to feed all these people? And where are they going to sleep? Ed said that General Mustang will have some information on that soon. Something about the Fuhrer establishing a tent city or something like that. The food, though, I don't begin to know where we'll find enough food. Winry laughs helplessly. The situation is so downright bizarre to her she can't really react in any other way. This is crazy. Now I'm imagining a wedding cake as tall as Major Armstrong. Pinocchio chuckles as well. Well, let's see to what details we can manage on our own, and we'll charge by the head for a mission if that's what it takes. Did you decide whether you're incorporating automail to your dress? No, I decided not. Though I might carry my wrench as something old, maybe hiding my flowers.
Only you, Winry! Only you!
Just be careful when the time comes to throw the bouquet, dearie. Only you, Winry, only you. Ed comes home for the following day, as promised, as he goes to the train station to welcome him back. Separations of less than a week don't really faze Winry anymore, not after living without him for months at a stretch. At the same time, however, they have been apart so much that she hates to allow him out of her sight. He gets on the train with a bit of a sigh, as he can tell his leg is bothering him. But he smiles when he sees her and extends an arm to hug her. "Missed ya," he admits quietly. "Missed you too, dummy. Ed, what are we going to do about all this?" "I guess we could elope." "I am not eloping." "Please, we wouldn't have to wait 3 months.
And we were already... Ow!
She smacks him with a good arm naturedly, as they start walking away from the station. "No, Grandma said we'll figure it out, and we will. But there's a lot to sort out, and not much time to do it. What did General Mustang say?" "Well, guys, I do know the chef on a ship nearby. His name is Sanji. Now, the thing is, he might sound a little familiar to you guys when you hear him speak, but don't worry, I found that happens a lot with the Straw Hat crew. Like, for instance, I could swear that long-nosed shooter sounds exactly like Mace Hughes." "Oh, it gets better," Ed grimaces, though this doesn't fool her. "General Hothead and his loyal colonel are going to come here a week before the wedding, with a couple of soldiers to supervise setting up enough tents to house the Fuhrer, his guards, Ling, his guards, and whoever the hell else he's going to fight themselves." "Well, I guess they could be set up on the back meadow," Winry muses. "Nobody farms it anymore. If we get someone to cut down the weeds, it probably could serve the purpose." "They're not getting my room, that's all I know." Winry laughs. "All right. This would take care of most of the housing, but what about the food?" "I'm still a state alchemist. We'll take it out of my yearly research grant." "On the grounds that you're researching what exactly?" Ed falls silent for a few minutes, thinking. She loves to watch him think. Sometimes it's as if his mind itself is made out of all mail, whirring like little gears and pumping pistons, working together in perfect cohesiveness to produce exactly the answer he needs. A triumphant grin crosses his features. "A new kind of chimera!" What?" "A chimera," he explains, "is what you get when you take 2 life forms, or more or less merge them into one being." "That sounds revolting." For instance, she looks at him. Ed's eyes are shadowed, his expression almost haunted. She wonders what remembering. "It can't be," he admits, shaking out the recollection. "But if you think about it, isn't that what we're doing?" "I don't follow you." He raises over with her left hand. Winry will allow him to buy her an engagement ring, saying he would almost get in the way whilst he works, but he rubs the ring finger all the same. "We're taking a you," he says, "and merging it with a me, and the result is going to be an us. And then the us will be better and more complete than the you and me by ourselves. A chimera. And considering what we'll be doing after the wedding, that also makes sense." Not for the first time, Winry remembers why she loves this man. "And I remember why I love Ed." Then again, this is the same guy who said, and I quote, "Equality exchange! I'll give you half of my life if you give me half of yours," as a freaking wedding proposal. Not really, though. She shakes her head and laughs. "Alchemist," she says. A month slips past almost without Winry noticing. She's got 2 months on her plate. Wedding dress fittings are just the tip of the iceberg, and nearly impossible to arrange without Ed nosing into her proceedings. He just doesn't get it's bad luck to see the bride in her dress before the actual wedding. "I don't believe in luck," he argues. "Well, it's tradition. Now, shoot!" On top of all the wedding-related details, she's sidetracked by the larger order from mail. Mrs. Garfield still has clients who insist that only Winry Rockbell is able to supply them with what they need. So he has substantially subcontracts to her. As the 6 weeks until the wedding benchmark arrives, Garfield himself arrives in Rizable to collect and finish on mail, and offers flamboyant expertise on the nuptial preparations. "Darling," he says, "I love my job some days. I really do. I can't believe the military is going to cross on your special day. But don't you worry, because you look fabulous, and on my website, soldiers will be crying themselves to sleep because they can't have you. You've been reserved for that gorgeous alchemist since the day you were born, the way you talk." "Pretty much," she admits. It could be heard chuckling from the next room. Wait, is it supposed to be eavesdropping?
You perky little maid of honor says to tell you that she's got her dress. Garfield continues, referring to Panya. Oh, and the late calls want you to ferry us to come, but Dominic is going to stay behind in Rust Valley. He claims there's just too much work to do, but I think he wants to avoid a certain panther as unreasonable. What's his beef with the grandmother, anyway?
He refuses to tell me. Knowing Grandma, I'm probably better off.
So, when do the these muckety marks arrive?
I got a letter from Al, who'll be coming back with them. And Al says they're already on the move. It'll take them a little longer to cross the desert with all those bodyguards and things. Apparently they're going to Central, where Ling, the Emperor, will meet the Fuhrer, and they'll all come together there. Windrig was a little lost. Mr. Garfield, how did I get myself into this?
You agreed to marry the full metal alchemist, sweetness. Not your fault the boy next door saved the world.
She nods, tearing her lip, finally brightens yes. Do you want to see my dress?
I thought you'd never ask.
Hey! Ed pokes his head through the doorway. How come he gets to see it? Because he's not the bridegroom, you dope! Now quit eavesdropping! She grabs her wrench and wheels it threateningly. Go into town and get me some apple pie ingredients! Sensing that it's a fight he can't win, Ed disappears. He's helpless, she says effectively, lowering the tool. He's absolutely determined to see me in that gown.
He's probably more determined to see you out of that gown, darling.
Mr. Garfield!
He's a man-eater. All them bodies work the same way. Now, let's see how you look. I brought tissues because you just know I'm going to cry. Oh, yes.
Chapter 6. Flowseason. Flowseason, a hypothetical substance originally used to account for the probability of inflammability. Foreman! Seeing Havoc's grin is lazy and warm. He's on the steps of the restored Central Command, waving at the new arrival. The older soldier, fresh off of a train for North Country, returns to Green and moves to seek with his old friend. The four men who once served in General Mustang's private military army have long since given up saluting each other.
Havoc, it's been entirely too long.
It's only been a few months, Havoc protests. I know I just used my usual buggy voice for that. There's a reason. Inside joke.
No, it's not that.
Peter Fallman laughs.
It's been entirely too long since I've been this warm.
That's the price we pay for marrying a northern girl, and having a kid to boot, Havoc chuckles. It's becoming something of a recurring joke.
I like it there.
It's all the response or explanation Fallman never offers. In the corner of his mouth quirked gently upward. I'm impressed, Sarah Armstrong, in sending your niece this far.
Furious orders.
Fallman strikes slightly.
Truthfully, I don't even know why he wants me in the entourage. I wasn't given much in the way of details. Same reason we're all in it,
says a new voice. Fallman smiles again as he turns to class hands with Heyman Breda.
It's a Team Mustang reunion, that's the truth. I have it for General Mustang himself.
A Mustang reunion? How did he pull that off? The Bishop replies.
I guess the Fuhrer asked him to recommend a few soldiers to serve in the escort party.
Breda smirks. Something tells me the recommendations didn't take Grandma Musk by surprise. The whole job's pretty much a week and a nod anyway. I mean, all this fuss for Full Metal's wedding? I think the Fuhrer's just having some fun. Nothing wrong with fun, says Havoc.
I assume our young friend Fury will be one of the party then,
asks Fallman.
Us, Fury, Armstrong, Ross, Bross, Catalina, Breda confirms. Mustang's loyalist, -1. Though Catalina probably sneaked in more since he's Havoc's girlfriend than anything.
Hey! Havoc ejects, but falls short of having anything witty to back it up.
Be reasonable, Havoc. Mustang probably didn't want you within 50 miles of a wedding outside a date.
Breda sees Havoc on a more regular basis than any of the others, and he seems to feel that this is giving him particular taunting rights.
Otherwise, you drive us all mental if you're complaining.
Hey, Vic, would it be too much trouble to ask for Olivia to show up later on?
In any case, says Fallman,
attempting to head off a possible argument,
it'll be good to see everyone again. Has the Singe's party arrived yet?
They crossed our border 2 days ago. It should be here tomorrow then. Our first task will be to secure the parade route.
Parade route?
Yeah. Grow's really having a time of his life. Sammy chuckles. It's like we're watching an overgrown 5-year-old the biggest birthday party ever. Come on, let's go get Fury. He got in last night. We'll grab some lunch and bring you both up to speed. We've got about a week or so in Central. Then it's off to Risenful to rendezvous with the King and Queen.
I wondered why they weren't here. 2 hours later, 4 generals and Mustangs, 5 hand-picked ordnance are collected around an outdoor cafe, having covered all the salient points of the Singing's visit and wedding duty, and now reduced to picking mercilessly at one each other, except for Fury, who takes it but never disses. Still doesn't quite dare. Drinks and sandwiches have been somehow paved the way for the raucous game of Remember When? And to Havoc's mind, the whole afternoon takes on a nostalgia cone.
Hey, remember the time Bray put Rubber Snake in Mustang's desk?
It wasn't me. You mean he never proved it was you? We all know it was. Hey, remember when Havoc was on sick leave and a rumor got around he eloped?
Yeah, my girlfriend dumped me over that. Thanks a lot, guys.
What makes you think we did it? Hey, remember when I found Black Coyote in the rain?
Remember the gossip that Mustang was trying to get a law passed requiring officers to wear rain skirts? Still trying that! Colonel!
Remember how Hawkeye reacted? I'll wear a rain skirt the same day you do, sir. That woman is unflappable. Remember the Benny pool afterward and how many people would put money down that he actually would? How I forget. I lost a whole paycheck on that one.
How could anyone forget? It was Hawkeye who won the pot!
Havoc roars good-naturedly, leaning back in his chair and taking a long drag from his cig. Damn, he misses those days. Life's good, but there's something about the era of Team Mustang that makes him wish, now and again, that things were still the way that he had been. Secret missions, clandestine operations, coded messages, and private jokes, all in the company of a small band of brothers, and one sister, of course, whose loyalty was beyond question. He would have died for any one of them. He still would. Even now. Times of peace are always hard for the warriors. Tell me about that, Becky says later at dinner. He has been filling in on the details of Team Mustang reunion. Somewhat uncuriously, he got a little misty-eyed. Maybe it's the wine.
Tell you what
it was like. What they were like. Frieza never says much about it. He rubs his chin, occasionally forgetting that Becky also happens to be Hawkeye's closest girlfriend.
She misses a lot of it, to be honest, he says. A lot of time it was the 4 of us were in a joke or a scheme. She and Mustang were sort of removed. They done anything for us. We done anything for them. But it was different. Mommy and Daddy, 2 4 rowdy little boys, she teases. Not all the time. Maybe once in a while. He smirks, but gently. There's a shared history there that the rest of us were a part of it, and we knew it. Apparently, they grew up together. It wasn't awkward or anything. They shouldn't set us out exactly. We were a team. Just different. No, I know what you mean. Reese's funny about Mustang. He's probably the same way about her. I don't even know how to describe it, but I get what you're saying. So, what are the other guys like then? Fury's just a kid. Like the tag-along brother I never had, but didn't realize I always wanted. Havoc grins. Very excitable. Fulman's sort of the opposite. Very wise and calm, kind of a big brother. And you know Brayden well enough yourself. Yeah. Good guys, huh? Good times? It only gets better as we go. He assures her, not wanting her to be felt left out somehow. How does it feel to be considered part of Team Mustang? Weird. But I think I like it. Good. Stick around. Planning on it. The Singese continent is approaching Central City's main gate. People have been lining up the streets since daybreak, eager to catch a glimpse of the foreigners. That rock group is pretty dang awesome. The plan is to have them travel around the perimeter of the spiderweb-shaped city before allowing one of the direct lines that leads to the steps of Central Command, where Fury Groma is waiting. Havoc and most of his friends have been assigned to the Fury as personal detail for the moment. The lone exception is Fury, who is posted at the city entrance with his communications equipment. It's his job to report back to the others about what he's seeing. Groma wants time to welcome them so. Havoc thinks it's all pretty ridiculous, but he only gets the cushy deal of standing in formation with his friends, and really not complaining. Emperor Ling knows how to put on a show. Fury comments over the line. The first members of his entourage are approaching the gate right now. 7 officers are flanked around Grumman, who stands in the center of the group, holding the intercom, as though they can hear their friend. Hard to believe he's the same skinny kid who helped Full Metal win the battle, isn't it? Brave Maris at Havoc, who nods and fights back a smirk. I'm seeing a camel with two large guys walking on either side. Fury sounds puzzled. And, hey, it's Alphonse! Hey, Al! Up here! Al! Al's riding a camel, you guys. He's leading the parade. He looks like he's got our Chimera friends with him. None of the officers can keep a straight face at Fury's enthusiasm. Luckily, neither can the Fuhrer, who laughs heartily. I like this boy. I wish I had a younger granddaughter who I could introduce him to. Hi, see the little princess? May, was it? The one who saved Hawkeye's life. Fury audibly swallows, and Havoc understands why. Being reminded of how they almost lost the queen is uncomfortable for all of them. Yeah, it's her. She's in a palanquin right behind Al. She still has that weird little cat, too. Some of the guards, and wow, that's pretty cool.
What is it, Brita?
Sorry, it's some kind of decorative costume. Has to be at least 6 men holding that thing up. It looks like a big phoenix.
What the hell's that for?
I believe it's the phoenix is the emblem of the House of Yao, says Fury, replacing Fallman's line for today.
I remember seeing a phoenix image on the back of the long young lord's shirt during his recovery time here in Amistris.
Oh, that makes sense. Fury responds over the line. Let's see. I count 6 more guards, and here comes the Emperor. He's got Lanfang with him. At least, I think that's who it is. I've never met her.
How's the Emperor traveling?
Another palanquin. This one's supported by a pair of camels. Princess's maid was carried by people.
What's behind the Emperor, Sergeant?
More guards, and
Wait. What do you mean, wait?
There's no answer.
Master Sergeant Fury! Report!
There's still no answer.
Fury Crutman. Are we privileged to investigate?
Havoc already has on a gun. Before the Fuhrer can respond, the line crackles with Fury's frantic voice. Guys! Something's... The line goes dead. Chapter 7. Vital Air. Oxygen. Teacher! Ed grimaces and laughs. At first it's Zumi, and then Zeke pulls him to a bear hugs. The wedding is set 16 days off, not that Ed is counting, and they have come early, even arriving ahead of Mustang. In the first half hour or so, send an introduction and noisy congratulation. It's so good to see them again, at a time when nobody has been kidnapped and the world did not need saving. The plans are coming down to the wire. Somehow they worked out a menu with food enough to feed around 300 guests.
This is Amistris!
How long? The entire fic. Just need to know, thank you. This is more than they are actually expecting, but Al has warned Ed about Tereso and Zampano's appetites. Ed is impatient for their arrival, having not seen his little brother in more than a year now. Mr. Garfield has returned to Rush Valley to distribute reduced auto mail to his demanding clientele, but should be returning in a few days with Pania and Lecoults. So, Colonel Mustang is on his way then. As Izumi, having settled down with a cup of coffee and a slice of Winry's pie. She loves Winry already. I can see that in the way the two women interact. Makes her really happy. Of course, the idea of anybody not loving Winry,
unless you're certain members of the fan base,
or teacher for that matter, is incomprehensible to him. General Mustang, he corrects her. Yeah, he should be on his way here any time now, with Colonel Hawkeye and Tal. And Alice in Central? Should be soon, if he's not already. Apparently they're having some big fancy welcoming party for Ling. Ed shrugs. I know he's the Emperor, and I know he's a prince when I first met him, but he's Ling. I can't get used to thinking of him any other way. Granny Pinocchio has Sig breaking up for Arwen. She promises to make stew for supper. Gonna be enough mouths to feed, that's for certain. With what 4 extra in the house tonight, she said. Stew goes a long way, and food always tastes better with company. Mustang decided that he'd come a little earlier than planned. I suppose there are reasons. Come to think of it, Mustang might not have been explaining what those reasons were when he called to tell Ed that they will reach Rizabul. Ed just didn't pay close enough attention to remember what they are. He grasps the salient point, which is that Mustang and Hawkeye will arrive almost a full week sooner than he expected them, and he figures that's all that matters. Izumi is a help to Granny in the kitchen, despite the almost universal insistence that she is a guest and should be relaxing. I am a housewife, she reminds them, as if they forget. So while Granny makes the stew, and tells Izumi that it's still the only way Ed will ingest milk, Izumi busts herself with teaching Winry how to make her own mother's sweet roll recipe. Thank you, Mrs. Izumi.
The women thus occupied, Ed and Zeke head down to the train station to the welcoming the arriving military personnel. For Ed, this begins with a crash to the ground. By Coyote, he has accompanied his mistress to Winter Bowl, and is not shy about expressing his delight in meeting Edward again. Bad dog, Hawkeye says immediately, and immediately backs off. Ed just chuckles. Zeke picks him up and dusts him off. So, remind me why you decided to come early? He asks. Not that it matters. I'm just wondering why I had to look you longer than you first said. The soldiers are going to be erecting the encampment. We'll be arriving in a few days, like we had initially planned, Mustang says. But the tents themselves are being sent a little ahead of schedule. Was this to say what exactly? Ed looked to Hawkeye for clarification. A clerical error. It's caused the tents to be requisitioned sooner than expected. They'll be arriving tomorrow, and we have to be here to receive them. She translates. A clerical error, huh? Sure, yeah, I get it. Fine. Winry's grandma's making stew. I guess you're going to be staying in the house tonight. Hey, clerical errors happen, Mustang reports. To other people, not Colonel Hawkeye. Come on, Hayate, let's go introduce you to Dad. The dog barks fervently and falls behind, and Ed sends him step behind Zig, letting the two officers trail behind him. He acts as though he can't hear the muttering, but he and Zig keep glancing at each other, trying not to snicker. I told you that story would sound ridiculous. Hey, this is the closest thing either one of us have had to a vacation in years. Can you blame me for not tracking on a few extra days? No, sir, but it wouldn't have been better to request the leave officially. We're on official business. That makes it official, and I officially plan to sleep in at least once before the rest of the crew arrives. General, what? Never mind. After supper, one shows the guests around the house. Ed tries, and fails spectacularly, to sneak along when she lets a zooming in Hawkeye take a look at her wedding dress. He's saved from a wrench on the head however, by the indignance from another source. Mustang, who's not even attempting to see the gown, is instead pursuing the collage of photographs Winry had posted on the old board in the hallway, and sound of noise could be heard throughout the entire house. Who drew this ridiculous-looking mustache on my picture? Ed, whose snickering gave him away, decides that the combined ire of the commanding officer and his wife-to-be is a force too formidable to be reckoned with. He therefore escapes through the window, hiding up on the roof and amusing himself by listening to everyone else soothe the animosity. He's just excited, Winry. I know he is, but how many times do I have to tell him no? Really, sir, it's not that awful. You're lying, Colonel. It's only because I care, sir. Ed laughs and sighs. He stretches out on a rooftop, his arms folded behind his head. The stars are out in full force, and he mounts out constellation in his eyes. For some reason, they make him think of his parents. You're getting a real kick out of this, aren't you? He muses with a smile. I'll bet you are, old man. I hope that, wherever you two are, you're together. You deserve that much at least.
How long do you think you got tied up here?
Ed sits up, startled, but relaxes when he sees Sig. Hopefully long enough for them to stop wanting to hurt me. I'm pretty allergic to wrenches and fire. Sig chuckles and hauls himself up onto the roof. Ed is slightly fearful that he might not be able to hold them both, but nothing worse than a few creaks happen.
Beautiful view up here.
Yeah, Ed grins. Ed and Al and I were here the day we decided to go our separate ways. We were saying that you could just see about forever, and both agreed that we wanted to know what was out there.
Did you expect to be back so soon?
Well, Ed felt like a sap for admitting this. On the other hand, he's never known more than any man love a woman than Sig. The world out there is fascinating, don't get me wrong, and I do want to see more of it and study more. But the truth is, the world under this roof is a pretty good place too.
Home's always good. You were away from home for a long time on your quests.
Sig points out sagely.
There's nothing wrong with wanting to put down some roots.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like I've got roots all over the place. The younger man confesses, like everywhere I've gone, I've left a part of myself behind.
You did. We also brought something back. Sig grins. Take Dupla, for instance. You boys left part of yourselves there. You took part of us with you when you went away. Isn't that what you alchemists call equivalent exchange?
Huh. Ed stares up to the sky, musing. Well, when you put it that way, it doesn't sound so bad. And you people are going to hate me for this, but I think I'll stop right there. But I'll review the first half anyway. I mean, Why shouldn't I? I mean, you're telling me right now that I am reading a fanfic that where everybody's in character and that and now have a brotherly relationship with one another and that there is no yowling. Well, okay, yowling's not always a bad thing. I do like a good bit of yowling once in a while and a good bit of Yuri, but there's no Winry bashing. Winry is treated with respect and dignity, and nobody's relationship is messed up just to support some out of character pairing. What is this? A pony fic? Oh, fanfic. Where have you been all my life? I mean, good golly, I've been searching you for all over the place. I kept getting stuck with all these fanfics where Ed is overly emo and decides to cut himself every once in a while and becomes a vampire. Fanfics where Winry is comically bashed multiple times for stupid reasons, repeatedly, multiple times, just to make the other ship look good. Oh, golly, I hate dying for your ship. I really do, people. And many other stupid things that I can't even think of right now. This is a full metal fic. See? It's not so hard. No over development dependence on certain bits of envy Ed. Just a simple slice of life story. It's refreshing, really. And this fic been really dang good to me. I mean, everybody's in character. Nobody feels left out. The developments are good to build. The dialogue is sound. The emotional connection is there, and the story's set up. And I find it kind of weird. I began this channel, as most of you know, with Sweet Taste of Cake, close to about a year ago. Actually, in 4 days, it will be a year ago. Which, of course, involves two characters getting married. Mr. and Mrs. Cake. And now here I am. 1 year later, doing a fanfic where a character gets married. It's kind of interesting now that I think about it. And I love stories like this that do tell you about the future because it does help you, allow you to experience more with the site and more with your favorite characters. I'll probably have more about this whole entire thing when I finish one day, and believe me, this is one of those I probably will be getting back to. But till now, just enjoy the fic, guys. Well, that was one down, several more to go. I'll see you next time.